It actually took me a really long time to figure out a name for the restaurant. The name Reyna just kind of popped into my head, and Reyna means queen in Filipino. Like this whole journey of mine cooking and opening the restaurant, I think a lot of it is inspired and dedicated to my late grandmother. I was very close to her growing up. I feel like she passed too soon, you know, like I always felt like she was that person who would be there when all my milestones happened. You know, she's always been like on my mind and always been very present. And it's not just for my grandma, but for every female in my life that's been such a strong influence on me. The Philippines is a very matriarchal country. You know, like I feel like a lot of men are, you know, super like macho or whatever, but it's really the women that call the shots. And it's the women that basically run homes and families, you know. So it's for my grandma, my mom, my aunts, every single strong woman that held my hand through life, basically. So this is a tribute to all of them. The food is very Filipino leaning or Southeast Asian leaning. We usually have about 10 to 12 things on the menu at any given time. And around 4 or 5 dishes on that menu are kind of like staples, like they never change, like the burrata, the fried chicken, the cauliflower, and some kind of crispy pork. It kind of evolves into different versions of it, but we always have like a crispy pork belly on the menu. I do fried chicken and I do an adobo sauce to go with it, like a glaze. Adobo traditionally in the Philippines is this braised meat. So it's like a stew and it's cooked for hours. And the adobo sauce is very heavy on garlic. So I do like a roasted garlic yogurt and add fried garlic on top of it. So like when Filipinos taste it, it's still adobo. It still has that like, oh yeah, it's adobo, but it's not what their mom used to make. The burrata has 3 sauces: sweet soy glaze, a ginger sauce, and chili oil. And they're all traditional sauces for chicken rice, a Singaporean dish that I grew up eating as well. It's one of my favorite like comfort foods actually. And now it's one of our highest selling dishes. I don't mind if people call Reyna an Asian fusion restaurant because that's pretty much what we are. I don't see fusion as a bad word. Like I know some chefs don't like saying fusion or whatever, but I am from the Philippines. I grew up in Asia, but I've been living in France for 7 years. So obviously there's going to be some sort of mix of Asian ingredients and Asian flavors, but I also use French seasonal produce, and a lot of them are not available in Asia. And my whole thing here is if we're gonna do this, we have to make it from scratch. Like, so right now we have a noodle dish. So it's inspired by this Filipino noodle dish called palabok, and it's actually a rice noodle dish. But I thought, you know, maybe we can just do a spaghetti noodle, but I want to make it in-house. You know, some people are like, oh, you know, where did you buy the ginger sauce or the chili oil? And I'm like, we make it. Like, we make everything. So even if a dish leans towards French a little bit, you're gonna feel notes of Southeast Asia in it. I kind of like just have these ideas sometimes, like these ideas enter my head, or I get obsessed with like an ingredient that I want to use, or I think of something that I really loved growing up and I try to kind of update it. Even if you come here every other week, there's always something new to try. And the way that happens is, you know, it's a very democratic kitchen. I don't call all the shots. My only rule is it has to be like Southeast Asian or Filipino leaning, but nothing traditional. Like everything's playful, and I like to kind of take an idea and turn it into something else. Even like surprising myself sometimes, which is super exciting all the time. So our kitchen's pretty fun.